Watch carefully this video, understand it. I recommend to watch it a couple of times. This is probably the most important video you're gonna watch today. And today we're gonna be talking about Manage Oneself by Peter F. Drucker. Understanding this book is gonna be key to success, right? This book is written by Peter F. Drucker, one of the kings in management. It meant he mentored many of the big sharks in the business industry nowadays. So he basically says that in order to achieve like all history great achievers like Mozart, Beethoven, Napoleon, in order to conquer, they had to manage themselves and understand themselves, right? So this book is very good because in this book, you will learn to understand yourself, you will understand what are your strengths, how should you learn, how should you perform, how to make a positive impact in the world, etc., right? So I hope you like it. I'm currently now in Lisbon. I came for a couple of days. I have a house here. So I said, let me record it here, right? We change places all the time. But it doesn't mean I'm not gonna keep uploading videos, right? So, okay, let's get to the book. For you, those of you that don't know me, my name is Valentino, okay? Valentino Alzueta. I'm originally from Argentina, living in London, but moving all the time. So let's get started, right? Firstly, in order to make any decision in your life, you need to know what do you want, what are you looking for, right? What is the best thing in order for you to succeed or to achieve whatever you want. Therefore, you need to know what are your strengths, right? Most of the people that they think that they are good at, they are wrong. Let's start like this, right? Then, if you really want to know your ability to plan or to predict things, how accurate you are, just make a, I don't know, 8 months plan, 12 months plan. And in 12 months time, you will see where you are in comparison to where you said or where you thought you were going to be, right? And you will see what is your ability, how good you are at predicting based on the knowledge you have on yourself and your environment, right? So when you don't really know what to do, when you don't know how to perform, etc., first you need to focus on your strengths. What are your strengths, right? So for example, if you are good at running or you are better than average at running because you've trained more in the past or just because you have a better talent or like you are kind of talented running, you should focus on running. Then work on improving your strengths. People say focus on working your weaknesses, right? People say focus on strengthening your weaknesses, but actually it's your strengths that you need to keep working in order to really be the best at something, right? Because yeah, weaknesses are important too, but the strengths are the most important because it's what you're going to do as a living, right? In general, if you really want to do it, right? And thirdly, discover your intellectual arrogance. This causes disabling ignorance and overcoming. So this, like you can see how dumb someone is by the amount of questions they make and the type of questions they make, right? If you want great answers, make great questions, right? Therefore, identifying your strengths and focusing in improving them is key for success and key for decision making, etc., etc. Then, with feedback, it comes as well improving your manners. Here it says, manners are the lubricating oil of an organization. An organization where employees have manner, are well educated, the culture is much better. They are able to adapt. They respect their co-workers. Manners is key, like is a must. Then, in order to really perform better, you need to know how do I perform most efficiently. Like there are multiple ways of learning. For example, Learning, you can learn by reading, you can learn by copy, by writing, by taking notes, by listening yourself speak, by listening someone else, reading. There are multiple ways of learning, right? And this is one of the main reasons why school fails. Like, it's not me saying it, like, it's actually one of the reasons, and it makes sense if you listen to it. People by nature, they are born with different ways of performing, right? People learn in multiple ways, and at school, most of the time we learn simply at school, maybe most of the time by listening, I will say. However, it's true that you do a little bit of everything, but still they don't teach you to identify which is the way you perform best at. I think a school is, especially like not university, let's say a school is not that bad. Like, it's because it's a must, I guess, especially at the early stages of life to get like a structure. But it's true that it could be easily improved by changing and modifying certain stuff. So, am I a reader or a listener? This is a question you need to make yourself in order to understand how do you perform better, right? And this you can apply it to everyone. Understanding how other people performs will make you succeed and get on better with other people. For example, if you are at your work, right, and your boss, you know that he is a reader. Each time you send him the reports, you send perfectly written reports for him to read. He will appreciate it much more unconsciously. However, if this boss is a reader and you keep sending him audios or presentations or videos of you speaking, he's not gonna receive it the same unconsciously, right? So it's important as well to be aware of what the people that surround you are, how do they perform, in order to make it easier for them too, right? If you really want to succeed, this is how you should start looking people and being aware of. Something else, by the way, guys, if you want, I have a PDF in my description with a full summary of the most important key takeaways from this book. It's not really long, let's say, but I just said if any of you don't want to buy the book or just want to have the PDF nearby and access each time you want to read it, again, I recommend you guys to read this book a couple of times a year, at least. Like, it's really good and it's key for success based on what a lot of high level sharks in the industry, in the business industry, mention. In addition, Peter F. Drucker is like one of the best at managing people and managing businesses, right? So, in order as well for you to understand, to make decisions, for example, let's say you have multiple working opportunities, right? And you kind of can't decide which one is better for you. By learning all of the things that I've mentioned before about yourself and the following ones, you will be able to make better decisions. For example, do I work well with people or I am a loner? And if you do work with people, you then must ask in what relationship, right? So let's say some people can work with other people, they enjoy working with other people, but then you need to think in which relationship you like to work with people. You like to work with people, but you managing them or getting managed by someone else, getting directed by someone else, directing people, working with people at your same level. This is as well what you need to identify, right? Before making as well a working decision. And of course, if you are a loner, someone that likes to be alone, working alone, doing things by themselves, then you should as well rethink which type of job you are applying to in order to be happy and perform better. Because if you are really not happy where you are, you're thinking that you're not comfortable, etc., you will not perform properly. Then, for example, are you better, let's say, or do you produce better results being a decision maker or an advisor? Some people are really good advisors when they recommend things or decisions to their friends, they are really good at it. But then when it comes for them to make decisions, they are not that good at it. So as well, you need to understand, because once you understand this, you as well would have an idea of which position you would like to have at a business or in your own business, right? You can have your own business and really hire people to be maybe in the position. It's not a common thing, let's say, but you could still do it, I guess. As well, for example, do you perform well under stress, or do you need a highly structured and predictable environment? So again, you need to understand, make these questions to yourself, sit down, think, analyze them, and think carefully. What do you prefer? Think in previous examples of your life where you were maybe under stress. How did you cope with it, right? Did you cope with it properly? Were you relaxed? Were you thinking clearly, in cold, or you were really stressed? You really wanted to finish as soon as possible with that thing you were going through, etc. Me personally, I don't really like. I try to keep calm always. It doesn't matter what is the situation. Like Donald Trump says, like, why would I stress? Like, it's just making me do the things that I need to do slower. Like, really stressing, I guess, is just like a way your body reacts. But I think you need to control this because it's useless stressing. Why would you stress? It's useless. Like, it's just taking time in your mind, right? And the best thing when you have many things to do, you just write them all the things down and you prioritize them from the most important to the least important and you do them. Best thing, write everything down, journal. That's it. It's useless stressing. But again, if you stress, you can't cope with it, you like to being stressed, etc., or you don't have another option, let's say, you need to identify which type of roles or which type of situations will you be comfortable based on the type of person you are. As well, maybe this depends if you wanna work in a big organization or a small organization. Sometimes if you have like a responsible role, let's say manager or human resources head, and you manage different people in a large organization, stress level may be higher. Then maybe you opt for going and working in a smaller shop or in a smaller business, right? Understanding yourself is key to making good decisions. Is key. If you wanna make good decisions that you will be proud of in the future, you need to understand yourself. So take your time, think, write them down, read them, think. You're not gonna come with the first answer in the first 10 seconds. You need to sit down and think, and then you will be able to decide, right? Something very important as well are your values. Values is something that people is affected by environment, by culture, which it could be maybe the same thing, your family, how genes as well. It takes, so it has something to do with genes because genes affect the way you behave, right? I'm reading this book of Richard Dawkins called The Selfish Gene, and it talks that to a certain extent genes modify behavior, right? Because the purpose of the gene is to survive in the survival machines, as he called them, that is the human body, right? Actually, the selfish is not the individual, it's not the species, it's not the species group, it's just the gene itself who wants to keep going from one generation to another. So it actually has an impact on your behavior. So genes as well has to do with your values, etc., etc. Therefore, learning and understanding what are your values as well will help you decide which way you wanna go, right? Working in a company that doesn't align with your values, it will create problems in the future because firstly, you're not gonna be motivated, right? Like let's say, I don't know, you work for a German company, let's say, and they cut half of the forest trees in Germany to make paper, and you are not really, you don't like this, right? You are someone sustainable, looking forward for improving this. You are not gonna be happily working there and doing your best if if you really don't want them to succeed, right? On the other hand, it's important to know where do you belong, right? So by once you ask all of the questions we mentioned before to yourself and try to come with a decision and think kind of you have a right decision based on situations that you've lived before, right? How you reacted, how did you felt in those different situations. Then maybe as well talking with other people, how do they feel you, what do they think about you. It's important as well to have feedback from the people that surround you, but don't take it personally, don't take it as something bad, just take it as a constructive critic like this. So just take it in order to improve, right? You are asking them, it's normal, not anyone is perfect, like nobody is perfect. You just need to understand what you need, the areas you need to improve, and improve them, right? So once you understand most of these, people in general know and start to understand themselves at this point after their mid 20s, right? So once you have all of these, you will start to understand where do you belong, right? Where you like to live, which people you enjoy with, which people you don't enjoy with, what things you like to do, what things you don't like to do, etc., etc. Then you will be able to tell as well how can you contribute to this world, how you can make a positive impact. Once you know all of your strengths, how do you perform, where do you like to work and why, which type of person you are, etc., etc., you will have an idea of which type of contribution you can make to the world. Let's say you love helping people, you love making their lives better, etc. Now you can start working and going through different paths, right? You can go, let's say, work for an ONG, which maybe some other people with different types of values and ways of being wouldn't like to work at, or maybe create your own ONG. Understanding yourself is key for success, for decision making, for everything, right? Then communication is a great skill and something to understand. You need to take responsibility for communication, right? So most of these arise from the fact that people do not know what other people are doing. Currently, businesses are not built on human force; they are built on trust, right? And this doesn't mean that they like each other. This just means that all of the workers are aware of what all the other workers are working on, right, and how they benefit each other. So you need to take responsibility when communicating and understanding what the people working with you are working at and how you can help them, how they can help you. If not, it's gonna be much harder to be effective. Therefore, you have to know the strengths, the performance modes, and the values of your co-workers. Then he talks about your second life, right? After 20 years of working and doing the same thing every day. This is an old book as well, okay? But still, there is a lot of people that have this life and will have it, right? But after 20 years of doing very much the same kind of work, they are very good at their jobs, but they are not learning or contributing or deriving challenge and satisfaction from the job. So here are three ways that you can kind of have like a second life and start working on something else at the same time that you do this, right? So the first one is moving maybe from one or kind of organization to another, looking for change, and you already have a lot of knowledge on specific areas. Then the second way is to develop a parallel career, right? So then this might be having your full-time job, the one that you currently have, and then at the same time working on something else, working for an ONG or working for a second organization. In general, it's something that is not really related with each other, right? Because if not at the end, especially when you've been working 20 years at the same job, not most of the people have energy and willingness to carry out a second job based on the same thing that they work full time. And then thirdly, these are called social entrepreneurs. These are usually people who have been very successful in their first careers. They love to work, but it no longer challenges them. So in many cases, they keep doing what they've been doing all along, but spend less and less time on it. They create their own business, let's say an ONG, something to have a positive impact in their life and in the world, right? So, he says that firstly, not a lot of people manage to have a second life, let's call it, and spend time on other things. And you must begin working on this before you enter on it, right? So managing oneself, right? So some of the key takeaways, let's briefly recap. Understand what are your strengths and work on them to improve them. Secondly, how do you perform? Are you a reader, a listener? The best way you communicate, the best way you learn. Then, do you like working with people or alone? And if you like working with people, in which type of relationship you like to work with people? Then, as well, you need to understand what are your values, where do you belong, right? These are all questions that you need to understand from yourself in order to make good decisions in the future and go through the path that you need to go in order to achieve your goals, right? So I hope you like it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Any different ways I could improve the way I'm doing it. What do you think about what they say in this video and what I say? And yeah, next week, new book, probably biology, something different. But yeah, see you soon.